open communication, try to help them out the best you can. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them how much money they're going to give them up front and at the end. And I always say, because I don't know how much I'm going to make, I said my goal is to make anywhere from 20 to 30. And hopefully we get to 30. Maybe we'll only make 15, but that's my goal. And this is what I'm going to do for you. And I've never had anybody say, that's too much money. You're a jerk. Get out of here. Because I'm very open on this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to help you. This is the process. All right, welcome back. We're the Massive and Passive Income Show.
He's Jason.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Colter.
And he is Colter.
We're excited to be talking about, what did we call it? The moral compass and how to use, our moral compass in real estate.
Yeah.
There are some bad players and there are some good players in all industries.
Definitely.
All industries.
Definitely. And I think sometimes investors get a bad rap because whenever we go into a deal, we want to make money. I'm not doing a nonprofit organization, from the discomfort of my own home. I gotta make money because making money is what makes me do what I do. But that doesn't mean I gotta take advantage of people to make that money. And I think that's where the line gets drawn a lot of times with investors. Some investors, they take advantage of people. They really do. They go in, they lie, they cheat, they try to get the property as cheap as possible, try to give them nothing, and then go out and try to sell and make the most money. There are investors out there like that. But I believe there's more and more investors like Colter and I who try to make it a win-win. We still want to make money, but we try to make it a win for them, a win for their family, and then also a win for me. But it seems like whenever I put them first and figure out what I could do to help them, the money follows. If I go in motivated on the deal, then it seems like I don't pay as much attention to the people, and then the deal doesn't go as well as it could have. Or I may not get as good a deal as I want out of the deal because I'm putting the deal before the people. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of realtors like, property, people first, property second. There's people that have, and it's great. It's great on the surface. But when it comes right down to it, I think if we really focus on helping and solving problems, I think the money will follow.
Yeah. And there's certain criteria, like from a number standpoint that says, I will do this deal or I will not do this deal.
Yeah.
I was talking, there was a guy last week that presented and he talked about, I don't do a deal unless I can make $40,000. He just says, I won't touch it. Yeah. It's not worth my time.
Yeah.
It's not worth putting my crew on it. It's not worth the risk of the $200,000, $300,000, $500,000. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to do a deal, I have to make $40,000 or I don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
And so if he can go in and solve the problem and he can do that for $40,000, that's what it takes for somebody to pay for their problem to go away for that particular gentleman to do it.
Definitely.
Right? And his strategy is his strategy, but that's a criteria that says, this is what gets the deal done, or this is what makes me walk away.
Yeah.
And I think that is okay from the standpoint of he's not going to problem solve otherwise. And so for us, it has to come down to maybe that number is $20,000, maybe it's $100,000, but the difference in metrics and numbers could be very different. It may be that I'm only in the $1 million home market, and so it doesn't make sense for me to go in and buy $1 million home if I can't make 10% on my money.
Definitely.
It won't.
Yeah.
And so I think the same with, in anything, we can start to measure it based on numbers and figures. We have to have some qualitative aspects and some quantitative aspects. But, this idea of there's a perfect solution to all of the problems, there is, as long as you are trying to take care of people and you're solving problems in the meantime on their behalf and on your own behalf, and trying to match up those needs on both sides.
And there's sometimes when I sit with the people, we're like 3 days before it goes into foreclosure or we're on a time crunch. And sometimes I'm right up front. I'm like, in this situation, there's really going to be no win for you. But I can help save the home. I can still do what I do and I can still make money. But for you, because you waited so long, the only win that's going to happen to this is I might be able to save your credit a little bit because, I'll do some more financing or I'll do a sub-2 or whatever else. But other than that, we're down to the wire. And because we're down to the wire, all the numbers are we're crunching fast, and I've got to make this happen, and we got to do it today. But I have that open conversation with him, and I'm like, if you're not okay with it, that's fine. Somebody else might be able to help you out. I can help you out. I can get you out of the situation, and this is our best case scenario. I give you the best case scenario, but this is best case. And it's not as good as it could have been if we could have done this 2 months ago. But still, it's still better than just walking away or letting it go for foreclosure. And I think one of the things I've always tried to do is be 100% open with these people. This is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen to you. This is what your situation is. Because of the situation, this is the things that have got to take place. And because these got to take place, I've got to do this, this, and this in order to make this work for me. And by making this work for me, this is the impact it's going to have on you. And usually by the end, I'm done, visiting with them and telling them everything. Most of the time they're like, okay, whatever we got to do, that's great. And I said, so here's best case, here's worst case. Are you okay with both cases? I'm not going to say this is best case and only do the worst case. I'm really going to try and get the best case done for you. And if we can, this is what we're going to do. But if we can't, this is worst case. But worst case is still better than just letting this thing go into foreclosure or trying to just dump it to whoever for whatever you can get out of it. If you let me come in and help, this is what we can do. Yeah. And I found the more open I am with these people and the more I explain the process, the more they're on board with what's happening.
Yeah. Well, and we have to start with the end in mind of okay, how can I make it a win? What does this property turn into once I've taken over it? The win happens on the very end, saying, I'm going to sell it to them. They're going to be in it for a good price. They're paying retail, but they're buying it from me, which is a win for me. And in order for me to get to that point where I can make it a win for the end party, I got to make it a win for me. I've got to buy it from this person and make it a win for them.
Yeah.
So that they can walk away feeling like, hey, I was taken care of in the process when Jason or Colter comes through my front door and says we can do X and Y and Z, and they execute it on that, then they're happy.
Yeah.
They come away happy with the results.
And make sure if something changes from your original plan, make sure you let them know. Like, hey, I tried this didn't work. Now things have changed. This is what we're going to have to do. And don't wait until the day before and say, hey, we tried everything we could. We couldn't do anything. So now you're going in foreclosure. I did that once, and it was a mishap on my end, on me not communicating with them. I worked, and then I had another couple of deals come along, and there was about 10 days there I could have told them, and it hit me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to foreclosure tomorrow. And I had to sit down and talk to them and say, look, I couldn't get this done. And then they had to scramble, so I tried to help them out as much as I could. And I made a vow at that point I would never, ever leave it clear till the end of I mean, it wasn't, I just forgot. I was doing some other deals and that one, and I forgot that it was going to be, closing in 10 days or it was going to go to auction. And I felt bad. And I, either way, it still would have gone to foreclosure if I wouldn't have came in, but I felt bad that I didn't communicate with them because they could have done maybe something else along the way.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I've always tried to just open communication, try to help them out the best you can, tell them what you're doing, tell them how much money they're going to give them up front and at the end. And I always say, because I don't know how much I'm going to make, I said my goal is to make anywhere from 20 to 30, and hopefully we get to 30. Maybe we'll only make 15, but that's my goal. And this is what I'm going to do for you. And I've never had anybody say, that's too much money, you're a jerk, get out of here. Because I'm very open on, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to help you, this is the process. And this is how I make money. Otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Well,
there's so many different ways to look at a deal. At the end of the day, we're taking care of people. This is how we stay in business. This is how we continue to solve problems. And at the end of the day, we're also providing housing for somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I love improving a property. I've got 2 right now that I'm really excited about. They actually just so happen to come on the same lot, and we've talked about it a little bit before. The same lot that we're going to be able to split into 3 lots, and we're going to have 2 houses. It's now going to be 4 different dwellings. And that property is going to look 10 times better and be able to house 4 different families and it's so much better.
That's awesome.
For that street, for that neighborhood, for, just
Definitely.
the aesthetic appeal. And I love making that kind of improvement to our community.
That's awesome. That just sparked a memory. I was working with a couple they had another family living with them because she had lost her house. Both of them weren't employed at the time. They knew that they were going to lose the house they were in, but they needed someplace to live, so they were just living there. In the time of that place going to foreclosure, it was like 7-8 months. They didn't make any payments. In that time, the dad had got a job, and the friend wife had got a job, and they both were good jobs, and they could make payments now, but the bank wouldn't work with them at all. Like they wouldn't even do anything with them at all. They're like, you're so far gone, we want all money up front, or we don't get it, or you guys, we're gonna take the house. So it just so happened when I sat down to talk with them and I found out there's two different families, they were only living together out of convenience, not because they wanted to live together. I just happened to have two other properties that were lease option properties I was trying to lease option. And I found both of them had good jobs. Both of them were great people. Just bad things happen to good people. So I was able to work a deal on their property, able to save it from foreclosure. I moved them both out and put them into two properties I owned and lease options. I gave them the money from the sale of the property for the down payment of both properties. So I was able to, and you might think, oh man, you took advantage. No. I mean, obviously it helped me out in three different ways. But what did I do for that family? They had no idea where they were gonna go. They had no idea that they were gonna go find an apartment to rent. And I'm like, look, if you guys both have these jobs, I looked at their financials, you guys could qualify for these in a couple of years. You just had a bad run of 7 months and you didn't have a job. But if you give me a down payment, I took 5 from one and I think 6 from the other, because a little bit bigger house. They both bought in, and those two both went the full 2 years and both bought those properties.
Wow.
And when they bought the properties, they bought them. One had about $35,000 equity. The other one had about $15,000 to $20,000 equity. And I made, I think, 20 on one and 25 on the other, and I made 25 on their one that they had. But talk about a win-win-win. And that doesn't happen very often, you know. And they're like, we don't have a down payment. I'm like, look, if I can make this deal work, I can give you the money for the down payment. And they're like, well, that just goes to you. And I'm like, I know, but either I take it from you or I take it from somebody else. And if I take it from somebody else, you got to have that money. You got to go do something else with it. And man, it was awesome. It really was. It was one of those magical moments where everything kind of lined up, and I was able to help out the two families. It helped me fill 2 of my lease options. They ended up buying both of them, and then I was able to take this one, turned it into a lease option for, in fact, I'm wondering, no, I wasn't. I was thinking maybe they referred me the person who leased off of that, but that it was somebody I got off advertisement. But anyways, so just be open and be honest and take care of the person first. And I'm telling you what, you take care of them, money will follow. It really will. Now, don't do it at a fault. You've still got to make money. Remember, you're not a nonprofit organization, so don't do it, give away all your money, because otherwise you aren't going to be a business, can't help anybody anymore. So always do it, take care of them while taking care of you. But if you put them first, I think it'll all work out.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason, man, this has been fun, and talking about, we just got to, this is how we get deals done.
Yeah.
You know, this is us being able to be problem solvers. We have to be people oriented, and at the end of the day, we have to win in order to continue to help other people out of the situations that they might be in. And it may not be a distressed situation. It may be that they're just ready to move on. They're relocating to Florida or Timbuktu, and they just want out of it. And
they don't have time to fix it up. They don't have time to list it. They don't have time to show it. They just want out.
They just want to hand the keys to somebody that is willing to take on the problem.
Yep.
So, well, thank you, Jason.
Thanks for tuning in.